Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Hey. September is Pain Awareness Month, a time to raise understanding, compassion, and solutions for those living with pain. My guest today, Lora Arbrador, brings a rare dual perspective. She's both a registered nurse who has cared for patients and a person who has lived with chronic pain herself. She's also an artist and author who's soon to be published memoir. The book is published, right? Because I'm seeing it here. Okay.
Yeah, the
Arts
book
and
will
Love.
be published October 15th,
Okay,
so it's
okay.
coming right up.
Okay, Art and Love, My Life Illuminated in Egg Tempera chronicles her
Yes.
creative journey and life story. Laura has blended medicine, art, and personal experience to shed light on how pain shapes us and how creativity can become a tool for healing. Welcome to the podcast, Laura.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you holding the book just made it so real. And so I just could not, even though my research and everything shows that the book is soon to be published, I just could not believe that, oh, it's soon to be published. I'm like, of course, it's there. She's holding it in her hand. You've seen pain as both a nurse and a patient.
Yes.
How do those two perspectives shape the way you think about living with and supporting others in pain?
Yes, I think that the fact that I've had some pain, I actually have 2 hip replacements and a shoulder replacement.
Ooh,
Uh, so I have a condition of hypermobility that causes me to have these problems. And I think it really helps with my patients because sometimes they'll say, "Well, you don't understand," and I say, "Oh, actually, I do
I
understand."
do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, well, where the art comes in is just finding joy, uh, because I think that's really important. Creativity, for me, is a source of joy, creativity, and but I also believe that we have to address our pain any way that we can, whether that's through Western medicine or integrative medicine. There's so many different ways today that we can work with our pain. So I'm not saying, well, just paint nice pictures and your pain will go away. I think that's kind of naive, but it's kind of the
Yeah,
whole picture. The whole picture. Yeah.
yeah. It's not just a one size fits all. I mean, it's all coming
Yes. Yes.
together. They all have a
Mhm.
part to play. I want us to talk about your book, your memoir, right?
Yes.
It's called Arts, Love. What's the title again? Arts
Art,
and Love.
art and love. My life illuminated in egg tempera.
Okay.
So
What's the book about?
So the book is about my quest to learn an ancient painting technique called egg tempera that was used in the Middle Ages and even before. And it combines the yolk of an egg with colorful pigments. And it's a difficult technique. And when I was learning it, there were no teachers. So I struggled to learn it. And the other part of the book is about my struggle to gain confidence as an artist because many people are born, they say, "Oh, I started drawing right away and I was so good at it and I knew I'd
Yeah.
be in." For me, it was the opposite. I had no interest in art. And then when I did develop an interest in art, I didn't have any talent, so I didn't get any encouragement, but I became very passionate about it. And so I had to struggle to gain the confidence. So the book is a lot about my struggle to gain confidence as an artist. And then the love comes in because a lot of my paintings have to do with the medical world as a nurse, but also in terms of relationships and love. That was the other area that I struggled with was getting confidence as an artist and also finding love. In other words, a relationship. I had a lot of failures and I really had to struggle and learn a lot about myself. And so it was a tough thing. And I didn't really want to write about it, but I got an editor. And when she read my manuscript, she said, "There's no passion here. I don't know who you are. You have to write more." So I just sort of started pouring out old stories, and a lot of
Yeah.
them were about relationships. So she said, "Oh, that's perfect." But I think in the process, I revealed myself more than I had intended to.
You mentioned um art wasn't always one of your interests.
Mhm.
For me, I'm curious, what led to you um, being interested in art?
Good question. Well, my parents were very well-rounded. They wanted me to have a lot of exposure to the arts and science and everything. So, and I didn't really have much interest in anything. So they took me for piano lessons and then modern dance. And when I was about 12, they sent me for art lessons with a friend of theirs who actually was a very, very good professional artist. And so I just went. I didn't really have any interest in art, but it was in her basement. There were just a few of us pre-teenagers, but something clicked. She just treated us as adults and took us very seriously. And I found myself really fascinated by it. And so I really credit her. I dedicated the book to her along with three of my other mentors because she's really sparked that in me. But then the struggle began because I really wasn't very good at it. And my parents didn't think I had any talent. So it was a lifelong struggle. And I still struggle from that. I still feel, I could be better. Maybe every artist feels that way, but I mean, there's a lot of joy and creativity, but there's a lot of angst and suffering involved with it. But it's the exhilaration why I keep doing it. The moments of exhilaration and even miracle that
Yeah.
keeps
Well,
me. Yeah.
when you talked about egg tempera, one of my concerns was like, wait, what about you're using yolk? And from my understanding, and since you're the expert in egg tempera, I would ask this question. Um, when I hear egg tempera, egg painting, the first thing I'm thinking of is, well, egg does decay. I mean, if you break an egg, in a short while, it starts smelling and all those things. And I'm like, and now you're using it for painting. What would happen to the paint, and would that look like? Am I missing something?
No, actually, you're spot on. Because and the old Italians used to call it putrido, putrid. They used to call egg tempera putrido. But what we do, us egg tempera artists, we crack open the egg, we get rid of all the white and the membrane, and then we add some distilled water. That's our medium that we mix with the pigments. But every day after I'm finished painting, I put my palette in the refrigerator to make it last longer. And then even so, after 2 or 3 days, I have to crack another egg and make my medium all over again. So that's one reason why a lot of people don't use egg tempera because it's not like out of a tube. You don't just squirt it out of a tube. You have to make your own paint, but it's
Yeah.
really
Okay.
not that hard.
Okay, you've talked about the paint, you've talked about the painting. What about the artwork, right? That's though there's one of your work on the wall. For those that are watching on YouTube, they can see the painting. Won't that paint decay or smell of egg because it
Mhm.
was painted of egg yolk, right?
Yes, that's a great question. You ask such good questions, Wisdom. Actually, it dries very quickly, and when it dries, it doesn't smell and it doesn't rot. However, sometimes insects will crawl on my painting because they sense the fresh egg.
Yeah.
It's usually not a problem, but we egg tempera artists talk about the how insects will crawl. But no, it's really something happens pretty quickly called polymerization, which is a curing, and it becomes almost like plastic. It's a kind of magical.
Mm.
That's one of the
Wow.
reasons why I love it so much. It's like a alchemy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of the episode that you have something called hypermobility, right? Even
Yes.
though I'd love for you to like explain that what that really means, because a lot of persons, for me, this is the first time I'm hearing the word
Mm.
hypermobility as a term. Now, usually, I know what hypermobility means. It means to be highly mobile, but in this context, I have no idea what that means.
Well, some people think it's like double jointed, which I'm not really double jointed. I just had a lot of orthopedic problems. I had bursitis of my hip, and they were giving me injections, and then my shoulder and all my body parts, even in my 30s. So I was going to different doctors. Finally, I went to a rheumatologist. He was the head of the department, and he sat me down and he said, "You do not have rheumatoid arthritis. You do not have lupus, but what you do have is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome." EDS. It's a form of EDS. It's hypermobile and it causes all kinds of problems throughout your whole body. what it is. It's a defect of the collagen in the body. It's not really that bad. It's not like he said. It's not like lupus but I'm at one point I had 11 different conditions that I attributed to my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I'm still getting right now. I have a ruptured tendon, a ruptured ligament that keeps the tendon in place, and my fingers snap. And it's just I've had 6 surgeries,
Oh,
uh, pelvic prolapse from the EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So that's what it is.
yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying that. That has broadened my understanding of the concept. Um, when you were explaining how you got the interest in art, you mentioned it was while you were a teenager, and I'm curious when you got interested, when you got inspired by the lady,
Mm.
was it instantly you started art, or was it more like, oh, well, we'll wait around till adulthood, and then eventually you were like, okay, yeah, let's get back to this thing. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think I guess I worked with her, I don't know, maybe for a year. She had different projects and I became interested. And then I applied to a high school that specialized in art and music. It was a public high school and she helped me prepare my portfolio. But then when I got into that school, we did a lot of art. But as I said, I told a story in the book that one of my paintings got selected as an honorable mention. It won an award in the
Oh,
art show. And
congrats.
my parents, like my father, he seemed to think those judges must be crazy. This is an ugly painting. I mean, it was an opportunity
Uh,
to feel good about myself. Um, but actually, but kind of agreed with him. But recently, while I was writing the book, I had I don't know if your watchers know what a beta reader is. When you're writing a book,
yeah,
you give it to your friends to read. I had
yeah.
26 beta readers.
Wow, that's a lot.
Way too many, way too many. One of them said to me, because she saw the picture, I gave the beta readers all, I have 300 pictures in the book. She said, I like that painting. It looks as if somebody older painted it. And it kind of opened my eyes like, wow, it really is kind of a special painting. So I think just to get back to your question, I think going to that high school got me more involved in art, although I still, except for that one award, I was not a standout student. But it was when I got to college that I discovered this egg tempera technique. And then things really took off because I and make an analogy like a musician has a special instrument usually, like they want to play the cello or the trumpet, and they have a special relationship with one instrument that they can express themselves through. Now, some musicians have multiple instruments, but sometimes an artist, for me, when I got into the egg tempera, it was like my medium, and then that combined to help me take off in my artistic
Yeah.
passion. Yeah.
Well, living with pain, changes how people see themselves.
Mhm.
And how has pain shaped your identity? You mentioned you've gone through a lot of surgeries, and has that shaped your identity both personally and as an artist? And does it find its way into your work?
Yes, well, mainly my nursing career has entered into my work. As far as my pain goes, I have a regimen about it. Like, for example, now people are talking about we have our natural endorphins in our body, which is our natural morphine. So I'm a very big believer in exercise and physical therapy. So a lot of my pain, I control that way. Plus, I eat an anti-inflammatory diet. And I cannot take a lot of pain medicines because they have side effects. So I really have to work on the more natural types of things. But right, like right now because I'm getting old now, and a lot of old people have aches and pains, but when it how it affects my art, like with this I really haven't talked publicly about it, but this problem with my hand, right now I'm have trouble typing, I dictate a lot, but when I have more time to paint again, I'm actually worried that I won't be able to hold my paintbrush, and
Yeah, that's one of my concerns.
yeah, so that's how it could directly I kept saying, "It's so cruel," like, I'd rather have a knee problem. I could get a knee replacement, but my hand please don't please don't take my hand. But, it's just the way it is, and I just have to face it, and I do. And I think the other part about exercise is I tend toward depression, which a lot of people with pain do. And exercise is also antidepressant. So it helps with pain, depression, and I have a routine that I do different kinds of weightlifting and aerobics and keep my natural endorphins high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm curious what life would be like, if you can't paint. Because for me, I
Yeah,
see that as
no.
your form of self-expression, being a painter.
Yes, yes. I think about that, and it's very troubling. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years, and I think, well, one thing I could do is I could not be a therapist, but I'm involved in some 12-step recovery programs, and I could be like right now I don't have time to be a sponsor or to help people. And people love helping other people. It's a real high and it also releases endorphins. But I thought, well, if I can't paint, maybe I could just devote myself to helping people. And it wouldn't be a good substitute, but at least I would feel useful. So I know like people like Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist, when she couldn't paint, she started doing pottery.
Yeah.
She would sculpt, but that doesn't really appeal to me. So I'm just thinking I feel kind of good because I wrote the book and I have a pretty large body of work, even though I'm a very slow painter. I have a whole chapter about slow painting, but at least I have made a lot of the paintings that I wanted to make, so that makes me feel a little better, and I shouldn't be greedy. Maybe I shouldn't be greedy because I have more ideas for paintings, but, you know
Yeah.
that's a great question.
Yeah, well, thank you. One of the things I know is that arts we always find a way of evolving. While you're a teenager, prior to that time, that encounter, art wasn't really a thing. But you had that encounter, and here we are talking about your egg tempera work. Maybe we never know how the path will go. Maybe something else will pop up, and you're like, wow, I was born for this. How come it took me so long to discover this? Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just have to find out and see. If you do find something like that, let me know, and I'd love to have a chapter two of this conversation. Say, yeah, the last time I talked about it.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah.
While we were having this conversation, I just noticed that the artwork behind you
Mhm.
is, I don't know if it's my eyes, but it appears there's a lady like with her leg on the branches of the tree and her head
Mhm.
downwards. I don't know if it's my eyes, but at first it was like an abstract painting, but now I'm seeing things. Maybe it's hunger. I don't know. Is
Well,
there an image like that?
yes, what it is, I can't see it. I think it's because they're both of us on the screen. I don't know if anyone else can see it, but it's a woman who's upside down, and the limbs, her legs are entwined with the limbs of a tree.
Yeah.
My paintings are very conceptual that way because I'm thinking they call the tree limbs and our limbs, and we have limbs.
Yeah,
And so it's
limbs.
supposed to be like a romance, a cross species romance between the tree and the woman. That was the
Wow,
idea.
that's deep. That is deep. Wow. Because it took me some time. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, what is going on here? I was like, wow, I'm glad I saw it. At first, it was like, it's just one of these paintings. And now I'm seeing it. Ooh, wow. In the timeline of your work, was this in the early stage of your work, or maybe the later years of your work?
Well, this was inspired by a time when I lived in a teepee that I built myself, in the Native American Sioux tradition. I wanted to live close to nature. I had moved to the state of Maine because they'd had a shortage of nurses, and I wanted to live in the country, but I found my life was kind of suburban, and I got the idea to build this teepee, and it was 18 feet tall, and I had to sew oceans and oceans of canvas, and I cut down the trees from a friend's land to make the teepee poles, and just living close to nature, going to the bathroom, outdoors. I had a tin tub. So it was inspired by living close to nature.
Oh,
And you wanted to know when. So that would be,
yeah, when.
yeah, that would be, let's see, I graduated from nursing school.
Yeah.
I was not quite 30, I was still like late 20s, 29.
Oh, very,
Yeah,
very early in the
yeah.
timeline. Yeah,
But
because you
actually, I think
started
I painted it
Tempera.
later, but that was what inspired me. But I think I
Oh,
actually
you
painted
got the
it later.
inspiration why, like, the college days, but, later, like, how later, or later?
That's a great question. You know, some for some reason, I don't date my paintings. It's kind of a terrible thing, and I don't even sign them. I should sign them. So, I think it could have been several years later because at that point, I was not really doing much art because I had just graduated from nursing school, and I was mostly working as a nurse. I did another painting. I had taken care of a woman who had a colostomy. I was working as a community health nurse. They also call them visiting nurses. A lot of old people in Maine, and this woman had a colostomy. So, and that was also the time when I was living in my teepee, but I didn't paint it then. I painted it pretty much years later. I had a painting of two lovers embracing, and the woman had a colostomy. So that also was inspired definitely by that same period of time, but I painted it later.
Do you have a painting that best captures how pain feels,
Mm.
or
I
something
would
close?
Yeah, well, I did a series of people who died in the AIDS epidemic because I had a close friend who died, and then I had patients who died, and these are 4 paintings. So they all depict person who's already dead, but I think that kind of is close to pain because they all 4 of them died of AIDS in the early '90s. 2 of them died very young, and the other 2 died also young, but more like 40s and 50s. And so I would say that other than that, I don't think any of my other paintings specifically address pain, but definitely death and dying is very close.
Yeah,
However,
that's
one of the paintings is about a man who did not wanna go through the pain of dying, and
mm,
he decided to end his own life
ooh,
long before he needed to because he knew what was coming for him. That's
yeah.
kind of my favorite painting. He invited me to a going away party, which was the night before his suicide. He had a very, very elaborate party with lots of food and even drugs, and then he had a cake that said "Bon voyage, Tom." And he knew this was it. He was very happy. He was just smiling, and then in the morning, I wasn't there, but somebody called me. I asked her to call me. In the morning, he took a handful of pills and with vodka, and he was asleep in half an hour, and in an hour he was dead. So he didn't want to go through the suffering. And this series that I did on death and dying is called Ways of Dying, the different ways in which people approach death. Whereas the other one is a hospital scene of my friend who died, and he just wanted to live until the very end, the very last breath, no matter how much pain. Life is so precious, and I'm seeing that even now in friends that I have who are passing, that there are choices that we can all make, and it's not simple to make those choices, but we're all headed that way. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It feels so refreshing to have a chat about art.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah,
much, Wisdom. You ask such
yeah.
great questions.
Oh, thank you. I'm just curious. That's why. What advice would you give to, people going through pain and people in general? Um,
Mhm.
was discovering, I use the word discovering art as a way of self-expression. I mean, you were lucky enough that you got inspired, right? But sometimes we should find art, right? I don't know, right? But if it doesn't come to us, we'll go to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, art takes many forms because for some people, music can be especially healing. And I love music. I love to sing, but it's a different level than my actual fine art. But yeah, I think to find something, how do people find it? I mean, there is such a thing as art therapy. So many people think, "Oh, I can't do art. I wish I could do art." It's sad because I felt that way and I was able to find it anyway. And you kind of give me an idea when I said if I can't paint anymore, maybe I could help people to find creativity in
Yeah,
their lives. That would be something that
that's
might be,
that's a
yeah,
brilliant idea. I mean, you could be an art coach, and
an arts
yeah,
coach. Yeah, I could
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
There's so many things. There's so many ways, and yeah, it's always good to give back to society.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. The book will be launched in October 15, you said. Um, where can listeners, learn more about the work you do and also connect with you and eventually when the book gets released, get a copy of it?
Yeah, the easiest way is art and love book, artandlovebook.com. You find everything there. I have a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and it's called Art Blotter Plus. I present the work of artists that I find fascinating artists, and then I give an update on my art and my book. And I do that every month. It's on Substack, but you can sign up at artandlovebook.com.
Okay, okay. Artandlovebook.com. And if they also go to abrador.com,
It's the same
that's
thing. Yeah, it's the
okay.
same website. I just
Oh,
thought,
Art and Love Book takes them to abrador.com.
yeah,
Oh,
it
I see.
connects. Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
easier to remember.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so
yeah.
much, Laura. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. I will have the links mentioned in the description and the show notes.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
been a real pleasure.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.